All right, so we got the whole gang today. This is the Crushing Limits Unleashed podcast. We got a couple new guests. We got my buddy Mike out in Atlanta, founder of Formula IQ Supplements. Of course, we have Nate Pennycook, IFBB Pro, Peter Burmester, and a huge special guest, no introduction needed, Justin Compton. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I was doing.
Good, man. So you just got back from the workout, you said.
Yeah, yeah.
What'd you train today?
I did arms today. It's kind of an easy day for me.
There you go. What does your training look like now? Since obviously that you're heavy into coaching. What's a typical week for you?
It's still the same, to be fair. Like I don't really incorporate like what I would say advanced techniques anymore. Like I don't do rest pulse, supersets. I kind of go with the flow. Like if it don't feel right, I don't do it. I don't try to force anything. Like if I'm tired, maybe it's a day off. Like I don't obsess the way that you have to obsess to be a professional bodybuilder. Like I still do what I do, but do it and have fun while doing so.
Sure. That's
You
nice.
What's
know,
what's what's the mindset when you're training? Is it I just want to feel good, this movement
no,
feels
that's
good? Or is it I want my arms a
it's
little bit bigger?
I don't know
Like is
how to like when I'm training, I don't know how to just go through the motions. Like if I want like a piece of equipment over here, I'm gonna use that piece of equipment. Like if somebody's on it, I'm just, like I still kind of got that same attitude, same mentality. Of course, I don't say anything because they're using it, but like I'll make my rounds, I'll come back to it. But like as far as like the intensity level, I still take my sets to failure. I don't know how not to. I don't believe in the whole reps and reserve stuff. That's not my style. I try to push myself as hard as I can. Obviously, I'm not as strong as I once was. There are certain movements. There is certain things that I don't do now because the risk is just simply not worth the reward,
Mhm.
right? Like when I think about movements like deadlifts, like really really heavy bent over rows, or like heavy squats, nah, scratched all that because I'm able to maintain the muscle, stay where I'm at without those movements. And I'm just thinking long term, 5, 10, 20, 25 years down the road, 30 years down the road, spinal compression, disc stuff. I don't want to wear my body out now that I'm not competing. So, like, I just don't see a light at the end of that tunnel anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah, Justin, do you think those movements like the squats, deadlifts, those things you just mentioned? I mean, we see a lot of guys on stage now. I mean, we can look at this past Olympia, and we're just like the legs just aren't there. It's just not what they once used to be. So, do you think that these guys just aren't squatting? They're just not doing those movements like they once were in your era?
Um, That's a possibility. I mean, I really can't say 100% because if you look at guys like Phil Heath, Phil, like since we're talking about my era, Phil was in the beginning of his career. We saw videos of him squatting, like actual barbell squats, hack squats. Towards the end of his career, we didn't see a whole lot of that, and I didn't really see a lot of decline on his legs. So now one could argue maybe those squats is what built the leg,
Right.
and he was maintaining it with like leg press extension, other things like that. So I mean, for me, it's kind of hard to say because we do have some guys, and I could not tell you how Netzilla trains. I've never watched one of his training videos. I mean, he has the biggest legs around right now. And Big Ronnie, like whenever he was still competing, I don't recall him doing squats.
Sure.
Not that I can remember. So I think when it comes to just building big legs in general, you got to find what specifically like what movement work the best for you. Like speaking of like constantly like aches and pains and stuff like that, potential risk of injury. Like one of my guys, Joe, that I work with, his critique was he needs bigger quads from the front, which we all know that. And he's making some great improvements on it, and he actually doesn't squat anymore. He's found other exercises that he has a much better mind to muscle connection with, and he's able to actually fire the area in his quad where he needs to, versus getting under the bar. I would say everyone on this podcast, we're all probably guilty of this at some point of getting under the bar and just going as heavy as we can, just keeping our form right, but just pushing weight. And sometimes, I mean, that builds overall mass, but I mean, when you're trying to be nitpicky with things, I think sometimes isolation movements can work better for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
No.
think there's also something that you learn from squatting heavy for a lot of reps, you just learn that intensity that you can apply to other movements. When you got 405 on your back, there's nowhere to run from it.
Yeah.
And
No,
then,
it does. It teaches you
yeah,
that drive and determination.
yeah. And then once you build that kind of grit, intensity, ability to move weight, that mind muscle connection, the stability, and then you apply that to a hack squat or a pendulum squat, I think that's where people really can excel.
I think the hack squat and the pendulum squat, like if I could go back and read like all of my training, that would have been my two go-tos.
Yeah.
I've been at most gyms I've been in always have a hack squat, but finding that a pendulum is not the most common piece of equipment. It's getting better now with different change of technology, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it it was almost like I didn't really know what it was the first time I saw one, and I was already a pro. Like I literally did not know what that piece of equipment was when I looked at it. And I found out real quick when I decided to put three plates on each
Yeah.
side. Yeah.
I think we all did.
Yeah. I remember Dusty Hanshaw used to call that piece of equipment the humbler.
Yeah.
And it definitely is.
Yeah. Dusty used to come to my gym every once in a while, Quads Gym in Chicago, and
Okay.
put 6 plates on the Paramount pendulum squat.
That's
Yeah.
the real one.
And he was the only guy I ever saw do that at my gym. So for years, that was my goal that I worked up to. I was like, I want 6 on the Paramount pendulum squat. And you definitely grow
Well,
from it. Yeah.
the reason that machine is heavy because a lot of them, I think Arsenal's does this too. They have a counterbalance.
Mhm.
If you can't do your body weight with it, you can actually put weights on the other side of it to lower the resistance, like less than what it naturally is. So
Yeah.
that kind of goes to show, like, if they had something to make it easier than free weights, it's pretty heavy. I remember my training partner whenever I lived in Kentucky. We always bypassed that machine. We never really looked at it. One day I wanted to try it. I think I put three plates on each side. And after one rep, I was like, nope, we're not, nope, it ain't happening. And I racked it, and I think I took it down to like a plate and a 25, and I got the right feel for it. And he was stronger than me on legs. And I told him about it. And then the next week, he goes, dude, how did you just do a plate and a quarter? I'm like, how much did you do? Because I put like 6 plates on each side. I'm like, no, you fucking didn't. He put them on the other side because he didn't know how to use it either. He basically, so there was like negative resistance on this guy. Like, I'm surprised they didn't just pull him up at that point. But no, that is by far probably my favorite leg piece.
Okay.
Like no real pressure on your knees. I don't feel all that crazy spinal compression versus a regular barbell squat. That's by far my favorite piece of equipment. Plus, you got the stability, so you can move your feet up or down on the platform to, target more glute hand or depending on specific part of your leg that you want to hit.
Yeah.
What about for back? Is there anything, that would replace, in your eyes, like a deadlift or like a bent over row?
So back is a very tricky just area of your body to work in general because I never truly felt bent over rows, not the way that I'm supposed to feel them. So one of the variations that I did, I remember taking an easy bar. That way, like my hand, instead of my arms like on a straight bar, that way they're kind of curved in on the easy bar. Then I was able to tuck my elbows in the way I'm supposed to. And I was able to do that successfully over like a regular standard barbell row. But I personally find the chest supported stuff that way I can actually focus on my upper back, and it's not like I'm not swinging with my hips or anything versus doing a barbell. Like I remember as an amateur, I did 500 on barbell rows. I'm sure it was sloppy. And then my back got significantly better when I realized I don't need that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I realized I wasn't getting a pump in the places I'm supposed to. Like I walk out of the gym like I've been doing deadlifts, not upper back.
Yep. Yeah, I always I have SI joint issues that have just built up over the years, and I'm always doing like I go as heavy as I can on any chest supported row, that I'm limited to. And I'm always wondering like, when I get done with, because I feel it, my back is pumped and everything, but I'm like, gosh, am I missing out by doing these? So
I
it's
don't think so. I think a lot of it is your mind and muscle connection and learning actually how to pulling with your elbow and also letting your scapula go forward, like for your stretch, and also be able to pull it back on your contraction.
Mhm.
That way, you're getting your rhomboids and mid back in there as well when you're hitting that. I mean, or if you're just simply targeting lats, you can lock your scapula in place and just pull with your elbow. But I think it gives you the ability to isolate a little bit more versus that bent over row. You got to stabilize everything. I really like the chest supported stuff, and I like mostly machines for back movement.
Hmm.
I recently I added barbell rows back in because I've needed to build up those erectors, that lower back. And like yourself, when I was younger, I mean, I was a hell of a lot smaller. I was around 315. I thought I was like, this is good. This is a lot of weight. And I think people, when they see barbells, there's just this tendency. We want to stack 45s on it. It's like, no, I'm not going to go up by 10 pounds. I'm going to go up by like a 25 or a 45. And before you know it, you're jerking 315, not using your back.
And
And I'll be honest. I'll be
that's where
honest
progressive
now.
overload. That's
Yeah. And I'll be honest now, I'm doing my bent over barbell rows with like a plate and a 25, plate and a 35. And I'm staying parallel to the ground, almost like a pendlay row, but not touching the ground.
that
And I
was
feel
old
that
school
way
Lee
more.
Haney style too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I shoot for like 15 reps. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either. If you're feeling it, I mean, it
Yeah.
may not look impressive because it's not like you said 45 after 45 after
Hmm.
45. I think that's where progressive overload ends up
Yeah.
getting to people's head because when they see like a 2.5 pound plate put on one side, they're like, oh, I don't know, mess with that. But like, I remember reading Dante Trudell back, this is like 15 years ago, and he was talking about if you can add 2.5 to 5 pounds of weight to your lift, every 2 weeks over the course of a year, that's going to be a significant increase. And obviously, your muscle mass is going to increase with that. But most people don't want to do that. They want to slap a 25 or a 45 on.
Yeah. And Jordan Peters is another good example of that. How much he's progressed over the years in size. I mean, no one knows what the hell his physique looks like at this point, but he is strong and he goes up in those tiny little increments.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to use that style of training, you can't be afraid of, again, just 2, 3 pounds a week. I mean, if you have
Mhm.
1 pound plates, that would work. But I never really liked the idea of progressive overload on back movements, specifically like a bent over row,
Yeah.
because as you get to that failing point, you're more likely to kind of hinge a little bit forward and you're cheating a little bit or you're jerking the weight.
Yeah, there's
If I was doing that, I would probably just stick to more like, okay, I don't have any more reps in the tank. I'm not going to cheat. This is where we got to call it.
yeah, there's just too many other factors. The other thing I use progressive overload over the years and phases, but the thing I always came back to is if you think about like a bicep. I don't see guys out there curling 100-pound dumbbells and they've been training biceps for 20 years.
Yeah.
And their arms are still getting bigger. So yeah, but I think it's good for some people if they want to drive intensity to run a phase of that. Yeah.
Did you ever do like a low volume approach, or has it always kind of been like a moderate to higher volume?
I made an attempt at low volume. Like when me and Matt was friends back in 2014 and 15, probably towards the end of 2015. I'm not going to say that it don't work. I did do it and I saw progress, but the thing is, I also came to the realization that I feel like as long as I was one of those people that I hyper responded to everything.
Hmm.
Like the training, like when I was natural, if I got these pictures on my phone somewhere, and they're on the internet, but they're hard to find. I'd only been lifting weights for like maybe 6 months, and they were like the old weights that was like plastic, but they had sand or something inside of it.
Hmm.
The
And this was
silver
like,
ones?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, this was like 2000. It shows my age here. But this was like 2002, and I was beating like I've been lifting that for 6 months. No clue how to eat. Obviously, no over the counter supplements. Clearly, no PEDs. I was 15 years old,
Hmm.
and I was probably better than a lot of people in their mid 20s taking drugs. So my body always responded. As long as I'm willing to put the effort into it, I got results from it. So I'm not going to say that progressive overload would have been better or worse for me. I did do it for about 6 months. I saw results, but I will say I got very incredibly strong. And with that comes a price, joint pain, aches, like there's a lot of little nagging issues that I was dealing with. I mean, because like an overhead press for me was like 5 plates per side, Smith, or something like that. Or, like a bench press, I did 505 for 5 on a barbell. So when you're using that kind of poundages, and I did respond good to strength. A lot of the people I was around said I should have done powerlifting. I had no desire to do powerlifting. But, I was relatively strong when I put the effort to it. So I don't really think that one was better over the other for me personally, but I like the volume. I like how it made me feel, and I responded good to it. And plus, I just like being in the gym. I like training.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, I
Shifting.
think some of these guys that do like these 30-minute workouts, 40-minute workouts, I'm like, yeah, I can tell. I can tell it's all you're putting in. Good job, man. I'm not trying to be a dick, but I can tell.
That's funny.
I don't know.
Do you have the new is that the iPhone 17?
Yeah, that's the new one.
Okay, so I just got it, and the reason I was wondering when it zoomed on her face,
Yeah.
or like, so it
It
kind of turns
follows
with
you.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I noticed it too on mine.
mine's less than a week old, and I did a show yesterday, and Beatty was telling me, like, as I was moving, he said like the camera was kind of moving with me.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah, because we're on a Mac. I don't know. Maybe it's the new
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
update.
know. That's weird. Then.
And then
Yeah.
like if you go to take a selfie, it will automatically like adjust to get whatever's in frame. I've noticed that too.
I haven't taken any pictures on the phone yet.
I took one with my
I
wife this
want
past weekend. It got us both in the frame. I'm not
Yeah, shifting gears a little bit. What did you think of Prague? Did you watch it, or obviously I'm sure
to.
you saw. Okay,
I did. I'm friends with one of the guys who he's kind of close to the promoter, and he sent me some videos that like when the live stream came out, I will say that live stream sucked.
terrible.
Like the promoter, it's a great show. No,
Mhm.
no knock on the show, but like, and I can't just hate on the Prague live. And the Olympia live stream sucked just as bad.
Yeah,
So maybe not as bad, but like with the Olympia live stream, like as like competitors and fans of the sport, we want to be able to watch like when they call front double bicep, we want to keep the
Mhm.
camera angle the same. We don't want to see this angle, then this angle, and going back and forth because we can't compare. We can't get a good look.
hmm
So I mean, if you're wanting to run it on ESPN, fine. If you're wanting to entertain the general public, fine. Like if you, the general public doesn't care about this.
Right.
It's us. We're the ones buying the live stream, so we want to be able to compare. But with Prague, it looked very dark. And unfortunately, like Samson being very dark skinned, Keon being very dark skinned, I was like, man, they blew it. I was like, they look like shit,
Yeah,
like total shit. And then when I saw good quality actual video came out, I was like, oh no, 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 everyone's on track and in shape. So the live stream just wasn't that good, but I think the show was overall it was a really good show, and I think it put Martin. It just solidifies like Martin's. I don't even want to say potential because we already know that. It solidifies Martin's standing. I would have been okay with Martin in third or fourth at the Olympia, to be fair.
absolutely.
I think
We all
I
would.
think
Yeah.
getting fifth. I don't necessarily agree with that. I didn't have him winning it,
Right.
but I think he should have moved up a little bit more. And this just goes to show. I mean, he's knocked out Samson, that was a Mr. Olympia winner. Dion. There's been like somebody made a post. He's knocked out like 5 Olympia winners so far that's still competing. I mean, granted, it's 212, but I mean, Keon's not exactly someone you're going to laugh at, though.
Mhm.
Mhm.
He could any other open show, he's probably going to win that.
Yeah. And their heights aren't that different. So
Yeah, he's
then
about 5'4". I think Martin's about five. I think Martin's about 5'7", 5'8".
yeah, Keon's about 5'5". But yeah, and then Martin, I mean, arguably beat Derek last year in the finals. I think we all
I
saw
agree.
that. So he's beat some of the best in the world.
Justin, I was saying that too at prejudging. I was wondering why Martin never got a look with Samson.
I don't know why they didn't put them side by side. I didn't
Yeah,
see it.
Yep.
yeah. I was wondering. I couldn't figure out why he never got a shot to stand next to Samson.
Another comparison I really wanted to see was Derek and Andrew side by side.
Yeah,
Didn't see that either because what I saw at the Olympia was when Derek came out, I was like, oh shit, like that's your Mr. Olympia right there. Like I liked how he looked. And then when Andrew got in that first call out, I was like, no. I was like, move Andrew beside, like directly beside Derek, and they wouldn't do it.
Mhm.
I had Andrew winning. I had Derek at prejudging, and I had Andrew slamming the door at finals. So that, in my opinion, if either one of those guys won, I did not have Hottie winning. I didn't even have him in the mix. I would
Yeah.
have had Hottie in third, or maybe if you put Hottie beside Martin, I may have put Martin in third.
Do you think Steve and the judges take any consideration to Andrew's antics on finals, walking around the stage,
Oh my goodness.
getting off the
Um,
line? Do you think that impacts judging at all?
I think they already had the decision
Yeah.
made based on prejudging, and just they didn't really put Andrew in the middle. And this is my opinion about this. I think this is Andrew's way of saying, "Fuck you guys. I know what I've got, and everybody else knows what I've got, and I'm going to walk in and show it. And there's nothing you can do about it." Like, I know when Steve was yelling at him, I'm just like, good for Andrew. Like, he's making his own statement. He's doing it his
Yeah.
way. So that being said, though, I don't think he did anything that was like disrespectful per se. I mean, the audience loved it, the crowd loved it. So I don't see as it being anything negative against him. I mean, if you look in the past, I don't know this to be factual. I just read this on the internet or heard it through friends, but like, I think Jay had threatened to sue the IFBB at one point, and yet he still went on to win 4 titles. So
Yeah,
I
he
think,
did with the urinalysis test.
Drug test.
yeah, that's what it was, right?
Yeah.
He did.
Yep.
So the fact that he went on to win after that just kind of says, like, I do think you need to be a fan favorite, and you obviously have to bring it. So I could see Andrew coming in next year and just sweeping the show. It's possible. Even with that on stage, I don't think he did anything wrong. I think he was
Yeah.
just showing some
Yeah.
charisma
I don't
and
think
showing some
fans were
personality.
upset by it.
I
And
wasn't.
if anything, fans have been asking him to be more interactive, more into it on stage anyway. Now, what do you think Andrew has to do if he wants to win next year?
Um, First off, his posing is atrocious. Not
Yep.
gonna lie.
Yep.
Like, because he's so big, he hides everything on his side cam. When
Hmm.
he turns to the side, the way that he positions his shoulders and his arms, he's not pushing out with the arm that's facing the stage. He could look 40 pounds bigger by
Mhm.
just posing differently. So, and honestly, I don't know how some of these guys, and I always use them as an example, but Rolly, dude couldn't pose worth a shit. Just call it as it is. I guess because he was so big and impressive, he didn't have to pose good. But like, I just think, how did you get this far not being able to pose? So like, I would want to see him work with not Cormier, either Kenny or
Melvin.
KJ
Yeah,
was
KJ, Joey.
Yeah, Joey.
yeah, Joey.
Yeah, Joey and Christina are great. Yeah.
I would love to see him just go out to Vegas and spend a little time with them and get it right.
Yeah. Because his
But
side tricep, when he was allowed to hit it facing front, that quad forward side tri you hit, that was one of the craziest shots in the IFBB. And now he's trying to hit that side one because Tyler said you have to do your side tri like that. He can't even get close to getting in position.
oh wait, when did he say you have to do it a certain way?
Tyler said it
I
in one
missed
of his
it.
reviews like a,
Yeah.
a year ago.
It was like a
He's
year.
saying,
He's like
yeah,
in Texas.
yeah. Because Andrew used to hit it flexing his quad forward and it looked unbelievable. Yeah.
So you're not allowed to do that anymore? This is
It's
news to
not
me.
considered allowed versus allowed. I don't know what they're gonna. It's not like they
Okay.
can disqualify you, but they said that's not a side tricep pose.
I think it's a classic pose. So, I mean, that it
Hmm.
probably is why it's not a mandatory.
Yeah,
I
because I
mean,
used to do it that way too.
yeah, well, I did as well.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, it's funny you mentioned that. This is just a random tidbit. It's way off topic, but the very first show that I ever did as a teenager. So as a pro, like when you do your quarter turns, typically like if this is the stage to my left, this arm's back, this arm, your right arm kind of comes across, right?
Yep.
Pretty normal. And I remember I learned to pose watching one of the videos that Bob Ciccarello had made when he was working with bodybuilding.com. That's literally how I learned to pose. So I translated that on the stage, and I did end up winning my first show. This is back when like there was 15 teenage bodybuilders. There's usually zero now, which is sad, but
Mhm.
there's 15 of us. And I remember when they said quarter turn, I turned and I set the pose up, and the judge goes, "Number five, put your arm down." I'm like, "Shit, I'm number five. What do you?" I was like confused. I'm like, put my arm down. What he's talking about? So I just put both like straight down to the side. And I'm like, okay. So I turned to the back, and then when he called quarter turn again, I'd been practicing this for 15 weeks. So I immediately went straight over, and he goes, "Number five, if you do that again, I'm going to disqualify you." I'm like, really? Like, and the thing is, through this day, I have slandered him and threw him under the bus, and I can't stand the guy. Like, 18-year-old kid, teenage division, first show. He got, and there was legit somewhere between 3 to 5,000 people in that audience. This is when bodybuilding was at its peak, probably in my opinion. It's like you're gonna say some dumb shit like that on stage to a teenager, but you're gonna disqualify me because you don't like my posing. If you don't like my posing, place me down. Don't say you're gonna DQ me for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been kind of funny because they actually asked me to write for their magazine later, and I just laughed at them. Yeah, once I like made it past the NPC level, all of a sudden they want to be friendly with me. I'm like, nah, it's not gonna happen.
There's a chairman here in Illinois. His show said he's notorious for this, but I remember he did it to me at my first show back in like 2012. But he'll call what leg he wants you to spike and which most muscular to hit. So he's like left leg back, rear double bicep, and I'm like, I've never practiced this, but it just feels awkward. And then he would call hands on hip or yeah, hands on hip most muscular. Like mine's the crab. What do you mean hands on hip most muscular?
So did he like enforce that too?
I mean, it was my
Yeah, he
first show.
did.
I'm like, I got to listen to what the judge is telling me to do. But
He
yeah,
still
he'll
does.
still sometimes do it at this
Yeah,
level and call like
he's
So
spike the right
Like
calf.
yeah.
even to this
What?
day,
Yeah, you know who I'm
to
talking
this
about.
day, so
Yeah.
He got
like
away from it recently.
4 years back, we're sitting in the front row. Flex Wheeler is sitting next to me, and Melvin Anthony is sitting next to him. And he saw him. We're all watching the show. They're like talking to us like we've known him for years, and they're commentating. They're cheering on everyone. It was really cool. And when he did that, Flex Wheeler literally goes up, and Melvin's like, "Tell him to stop doing that shit." Flex Wheeler goes right up to him. You know, Peter.
Yeah.
And like after whatever he said to Chuck, it stopped right after that. I mean, I would think if Flex Wheeler's talking to you, you're probably gonna listen.
yeah, I mean, it's just look at like you've never heard Steve say it, you've never
Yeah.
heard Sandy say it, you've never heard Bill, Jack, you've never heard any top level judge say it. It's so I don't know this guy personally,
Yeah.
but like the guy who did
But
it to
he knows.
me,
He's been around the sport 40, 50 years. He knows. He should,
that's the problem though.
yeah.
Like the guy that was judging me used to compete back when it was AAU. And
Mhm.
when it was AAU, like when you do your quarter turns, it was like arms straight down to the side. And it's like, yeah, hey, dude, we're in a new era now. Like, that's not how we do things. And you need to either adapt or, sit at home. So if it were me, like if I was in that show and I had video footage of it, I would send it to Tyler and be like, hey, lose this guy. Like, get rid of him. Like, this is not okay because we practice our posing a certain way. And then you're going to change it on game day and throw us a curveball.
And this is an NPC show. This isn't like a natural show. Like, the natural show, they have the hamstring pose and other ridiculous poses. This is an NPC show.
I wish we did a hamstring pose. Bring the moon pose back.
I
Is
even
that
get
is that what it is? Is that what the hamstring pose is? The moon
No,
pose?
I think they like have them curl it up, right?
yeah.
What
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah. I even get frustrated with the pro shows. So I'm figure IFBB, right? And so I'll go to a show and sometimes they let us come from the back of the stage. And sometimes you get there and they're like straight to the box. And I'm like, I've been practicing for
Practice your
months.
walk. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I've been practicing for months, going to the back of the stage, hitting a pose, and then walking up. And when you're thrown off, like I just feel like there should be either it's on your website before the show, like what's allowed, or it should be the same at every show for everybody.
I
Because I've
think
been to
that
shows
second part.
too where I get there. It happened to me at Texas Pro. I get there, I'm at the top of the steps, they're like straight to the box, and I'm like, okay. now this isn't the first time it's happened to me, so I'm a little more prepared. But then behind me comes Jessica, and she does whatever she wants. And so while the rest of the girls are listening, and maybe they're thrown off like the first time it happened to me, then there's some girls who don't listen. And I feel like there needs to be a standard.
Oh no, I absolutely agree with you. That's why when you were saying in the beginning, I said number two, because like it just needs to be the same at every
Yep.
show, every production. It should be the same format.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But the sport
I
also,
didn't see you guys in
oh, go
Texas.
ahead.
Did I run into you guys in Texas?
We
Because
probably
I was there.
did because we went a couple of years in a row,
What year did I
and
go?
then
I did it.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was only there this year.
Oh
okay,
yeah, not
okay,
this year.
yeah, not
Okay.
this year.
Speaking of running into, I always love telling this story because everyone's always like, "Oh, who's the most impressive bodybuilder you've ever seen in person?" And I tell the story about Justin Compton. In 2014, I did the junior nationals here in Chicago, and that's
Oh,
when
that's
you
when I took
were
my shirt off in the audience.
that no, but that's when you were with that gear company.
Yeah.
And I remember like going to the athletes check-in, and you were down there on that bottom level floor in your gear t-shirt, big Tupperware, just standing there eating. Like when I was standing behind you, it looked like livestock, just the traps and you were enormous. And for that 3 day period over the course of that show, I don't think I ever saw you not like chewing on food. It was just all day grazing. You were enormous.
I try to tell people, like, when I say I didn't miss a beat, like, no matter where I was at, traveling, working, I still got it done. So, like, they actually, I think that may have been the one and only time. Of course, MD was starting to fail at that point. The
Mhm.
magazine companies were phasing out. But you remember when they used to do the live play by plays
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and
and you
have
just get
guys?
like a sentence.
Yeah,
yep,
I
Yeah.
was one of the guys. It was like my first and last opportunity to do it. That kind of stuff just literally phased out like right
Yeah.
afterwards. But I was sitting there with David Bay, and David was like, "Dude, you need to be a little nicer on some of these." I'm like, look, this guy has like 14% body fat. He does not need to be at a national level stage. Like, I would just write like, not ready for this show. Next. Like, because I'm not going to sugarcoat it and be like, well, he's got good calves. Really? No, you just need a lot of work before you're here. Could have been a great bodybuilder maybe down the road. Like, I'm just saying how I see it in front of him.
Yeah. I
And
remember this.
David would give them all like a nice, like even if they look like total garbage, he would give them like a nice compliment. And I'm just like, next.
But I remember sitting there watch the live stream was sitting on the forum just hitting like reload, reload. I'd have like RX Muscle and MD up,
I
just
used to do the
reload.
same thing. Yep.
hmm
Yeah, that was a thing from like 2000, I believe, 2009, 8, 9, all the way to like 2015. So
Mhm.
that was me. I was just hitting refresh all the time just to see who was coming out.
Yeah.
Speaking of seeing you at your biggest, Justin, do you remember guest posing in Appleton, Wisconsin? Like
Yes. Yep.
you were like full blown.
Mhm.
Um,
You were pretty
what
big.
was what time of year was that?
April, Fox Cities.
Okay, yes. No, I remember the show. I remember the show very well. It was Demetrius, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was that 14 or 15.
it was one of those 14 or 15, but I remember you guest posed and everyone in the crowd was like, what the fuck?
I was probably pretty big.
You
Like
were
I was
fucking
lean too,
big.
right?
Yeah, you were big.
I think I was pretty lean at that show because that was like right. That wasn't too far after the Arnold.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But
Yep.
no, I remember that. I felt bad for Jimmy, the guy that picked me up at the airport. Apparently, I got in his truck and I broke something in his truck. Clumsy.
You were like full blown.
Oh, I'm sure I was big at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I remember seeing you at the Arnold one year. You didn't always train at Metro Fitness. You went to like the farther Metro Fitness to train away from people.
Yep.
And I went there and you were training one day and I remember you were doing tricep extensions behind your head. I'm pretty sure you were using 80-pound dumbbells. Single arm.
Probably. I was notorious to going between 65 and 80. And then there was
Yeah.
one gym that I did a seminar at that he had 200-pound dumbbells. And everyone just like I was the way I kind of typically run seminars back then was if they wanted me to train, I would tell people like we're going to go over all the talking now. But once I start training, I'm not answering no more questions. You're going to watch me, but I'm going to train as if you're not here because this training session still counts to me. This is not for shits and giggles. This counts. So they had a pair of 200-pound dumbbells. I was like, oh, somebody asked me, is there anything you can do with these? I'm like, oh, I can probably do tricep extensions if you can hand me the dumbbell. And I remember doing 200-pound dumbbell tricep extension. I
Yeah.
only did like 6 or 7, but it was just I was hitting myself in the back of the head with the damn dumbbell because it's so big.
What the fuck?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I remember seeing you do those tricep extensions. And I was just like, that's different.
Yeah, that I would always go to is it was the north side of town, right? I would
Yeah.
go about 45 minutes away from the
Yes.
venue because I
Yes.
wanted to be one, I like that gym because it has everything under the sun. It's like a hardcore gym. But
Yes.
two, it gets me away from like the crowd because again, I'm not there for show and paparazzi. That's for the expo. I don't want to be in the gym with cameras flashing and people talking to me. I went there because I could get a good peaceful workout in and train hard.
Yeah, the Arnold people never like the crowd never went there. And I remember when you were there was a bunch of other pros in there training that must have had the same idea.
Yeah, there was there's one downtown. It's like right beside the convention center. Powerhouse, maybe.
That used to be called Metro Fitness.
Okay, so that gym, the one that you can literally just like walk from the convention center to the gym.
I think so.
I love the gym because I've actually trained at it when the Arnold is not in town, and it's a really badass gym. But when the Arnold's in town,
Yeah, you can't train there.
forget it. Forget it. In 2016, me and Matt went there, and I think I'm not gonna throw shade on him for this, but I think Matt wanted a little bit of clout. Like he knows I did not want to train around people, especially like the last 4 weeks of the show.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, we can just walk over here to the gym," and I'm like, "That's kind of what I was thinking." As soon as I walked in there, I felt bad because of like I felt bad, but I had to do what I had to do because I'm trying to win this contest. I'm trying to get my last workout in, and I treated it like any other workout. Like it's not. This is not, well, I'm competing in 3. It doesn't, no, no. My mindset was still 100%. And I saw everyone around. This is when the tripod era was just beginning. And I'm like, okay. And I remember seeing Reagan Grimes in there and he was filming everything. He was an amateur at the time as well. And I remember a couple of guys that I actually knew as well. They come up to me like, hey, Justin, can I take a picture? And I said, no. Point blank, no. Turned my head. And I didn't want to be like that, but I know how it was going to be. I take a picture with this guy, I stop my workout. Then 5 more is going to come over, and now I've just wasted 5 to 10 minutes. I was like, I can't do that. That's why I didn't want to treat anyone like an asshole. Like I didn't want to be a prick. So that's why I wanted to go like far out of town to finish that last session.
Yeah.
That's what I did this last Arnold. But I think that was a big piece of why you were so successful so quickly. It's just that mentality of I'm going to do what I need to do and screw everything else, but I'm locked in. That mentality. So you're a coach. Do you think that people just have it or don't have it, or is it something that people can learn? Do you get
No,
frustrated like some of us do when you got a client that just
Childhood.
it genuinely is like so. If you've worked with people, you'll see like not just working with them online. Like if you ever get a chance to meet like your toppest, that ain't even a word, your highest top end clients, meet them in person, and you'll soon see they all carry the same characteristic, like the personality traits. Like the guy that I've trained that has placed the highest is Brian Bolzano. And when I'm around Brian, he is just as laser focused, locked in, like nothing else matters. I'm getting this shit done. And it was literally like almost like I was mirroring like my old self. And like when I'm around Joe, when I'm around Paul, like when I'm Aaron, like a lot of I could go down the list with like 20, 30 other names of like top level guys that I've worked with. they all have the attitude and the mindset that a top level pro should have. And then you have guys who you can see the talent, you can see the potential, but like they don't want it as bad. They think they do, but they really don't. I'm not trying to be mean about that, but they don't.
Yeah. One of the biggest differentiators that I see, and it's not just in bodybuilding, but people that are successful versus not, is being solution focused rather than problem focused. We all know the people that, oh, I have this problem. What do I do? I couldn't do my checking because I got this problem. I missed a meal traveling because of this problem. Instead of, I think the people that are very successful, it's this problem happened. I did the best and I solved it and I moved forward, and the coach didn't even hear about it. It's like I
Yeah,
found a
no, you're
way
100%.
to figure it out because I have a goal and I focused on the solution rather than being stuck. It's all
And,
about problem solving in bodybuilding, in my opinion. Yeah,
and you'll find that those type of people are successful in almost every
exactly.
avenue in life. And it's like the people who fail in one sector usually fail in all sectors. It's literally a mindset.
Yeah.
I remember it's been about 10 years ago since I saw this. It was a documentary about Michael Jordan, and it was showing how he kind of got started. And he had a couple of injuries, like before he was ever like good per se. And they just told him, like, you're done, man. Like, just hang it up. And he wasn't taking that as an answer. And obviously, look where we are today. But he had the mindset of, I'm going to make this shit happen.
Yep.
I'm going to do this. And it's just like if you want to be in business, if your goal is to become a billionaire, but yet you don't have a billionaire's personality, you're probably not going to be one, or even a millionaire, whatever. It's you got to have that focus. Like you got to be lasered in at whatever you're doing. Like right now, obviously, I coach. I feel like I'm very successful at that. But I also, one thing you guys probably don't know about me is I do a lot of offshore fishing,
I
and
knew
I did.
I literally study. Like I'll go back sometimes and look at my camera roll. And I'm like, I'm looking at like the times of the year, what I used, like how I caught this, and I'm noticing patterns, I'm noticing trends, and I'm just trying to get better at what I'm doing. And that's the difference in me going out and catching fish and some of these guys that's been fishing for 20, 30 years still can't outfish me. And I've been doing it for like six.
So did that love for fishing happen after bodybuilding or before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always did it. Like I kind of fished a lot when I was a kid, but I'm talking like
Yeah.
catfish and bass and stuff in a pond. Like not true sport fishing, like going out in the ocean and targeting big game.
Is it something that happened organically, or you thought, I'm not competing anymore, I need to find some other type of thing that I can push
Well,
and
it
be
it
competitive?
kind of happened by accident, to be honest with you, man. And bodybuilding is what brought it to me. Weirdly enough, I got a phone call one day from Evan Finnapani, and he was referring me to a promoter down in Trinidad. And he told me, he said, "Hey, this guy, he's a really good guy. If you want a guest pose there, I'll link you guys up." And I said, "Okay, that's cool." Guy calls me, and I really, to be fair, because of the timeline, I really just didn't want to do it because I was getting ready for the Golden State. So I kind of shot him a number that I thought he'll say no, and he didn't say no. I was like, "Well, okay, guess I'm going to Trinidad now." And we went down there, and the guy was super cool. Like he's probably, and it's not because of what he did for me. He was just genuinely a great human being. And he asked me and my ex, he goes, "What do you guys like to do?" He goes, "If you all want to stay a week," he goes, "I'd love to have you." He goes, "We're going to show you the island. We're going to let you see what life is like here." And he said, "What do you like to do?" And I was like, "I don't know. Maybe we'll go fishing or something." Because I'm just thinking, we're on an island in the middle of the Caribbean. Like, what possibly is there to do? Like, I'm 285 pounds. I'm not going to be hiking a mountain 285 pounds. So I said, "Let's go fishing." He goes, "Done." I was like, "Okay." He books us a charter, probably someone that he knew or got referrals from. We go out. And we hadn't been in the ocean but like maybe 10 minutes, and one of the rods got struck. And I caught, and to this day, it's the biggest tarpon I've ever caught in my life. That was the first saltwater fish, and it completely whipped my ass. Like it was about a 30 to 40 minute battle on this fish. And at that point, I was like, man, that's pretty fucking cool. Like, I'm gonna go back home and start doing this. And then I just kind of did it.
It's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But then again, he did kind of spoil me though, because he didn't just put me on any fish. Tarpon is known to be like one of the hardest fighting, strongest fish out there, and they require skill to catch because they're jumping. When they jump out of the water and if they're slinging their head, they're going to throw that hook. So if you don't know how to actually fish and be a good angler, you may hook one up, but you're not going to catch it. So the fact that I caught it, I was like, okay. And not only that, the captain said it was like 180 pounds. It's just like guys lying about their height, their weight, and guys lying about everything else for that matter too. It was probably like 120 to 140, but you don't see them that big very often. So like I caught like a true trophy size fish, like my first time ever going out.
That's insane. What are you supposed to do then when it jumps, like you said?
So in this particular case, we were actually bump trolling for them. I didn't know what that meant at the time. And we were bump trolling using live bait. So whenever we hooked up, the captain actually just left it in gear. So that's good on his part because when he's throwing his head up out of the water, I pull back on the rod and I'm trying to keep the line as tight as possible because when he's hooked and that hook is in his lip and he's pulling and jerking, it's ripping a hole. It's creating like it's not just like tightly underneath of like his mouth. It's ripped a hole in his mouth now. So if you give him free like any slack in the line and he throws his head, hook will just fall out,
Mm.
gone. So you have to keep a lot of tension at all times. Maybe not a lot of tension, but you have to keep tension at all times. Sometimes they charge at the boat. You better reel fast.
Makes sense.
And I'm actually going to take a friend out. He doesn't know this. He won't see this. He won't see this podcast before either. He's coming in tomorrow. We're gonna go. We're going for swordfish on Saturday.
Oh man.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I told him I was like, bro, they call this fish the gladiator of the sea for a reason. I was like, you should be prepared.
Is that the hardest fish to catch or
From a
most
technic
physical?
from a technical standpoint, like I said, it's a very technical fishery. I use electric reels for it because we're fishing 1,600 feet down,
Mhm.
and I'm using a 10-pound sinker, 10-pound lead. So not the type of stuff that you guys have up in Illinois. But
I'm not fishing, so even though I live right across from a marina, I just walk it. I know my limits.
but no, the biggest thing with it is, I mean, it doesn't exhaust you because again, we're using the electric reel. The biggest thing is when he gets near the boat is to not get hurt by it.
Yeah,
Because I mean, they
it's a
can fuck
sport.
you up real quick. It is a
Yeah,
swordfish for a reason. But I mean, probably the hardest thing to catch is either a Goliath grouper or a shark.
I'd imagine shark's pretty difficult.
Well, surprisingly though, it's think of it like sometimes the bigger ones. You think bigger the shark, the harder it is to catch, right? It's not always like that. Think about if you're boxing, right? If you're going to box a guy 170 pounds, assuming he's good, probably going to have a shitload of endurance, right? He's going to keep going and going and going. Now, go get in the ring with the 300-pound bodybuilder. If you can just get out of his way for like 3 or 4 minutes, he's going to be gassed.
Yeah,
So oftentimes the bigger fish don't fight as hard as some of the smaller ones do.
yeah. Or 212 guys beating open guys, right?
Or that, yeah.
I had to say it for my class.
Yeah, sometimes bigger doesn't always mean that you're
No,
going to perform better.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I got a question for you, Justin. Were you close with Dallas?
Um, Probably not as close as some people, but there was probably, I don't think more than 2 weeks went by where we didn't like text, chat, either he's commenting or I'm commenting, something like that.
I'm just
Like
wondering.
he didn't come stay at the house with me. I didn't go to his place or anything like that. But like we
Yeah.
were always very cool, cordial, which I don't think Dallas was not cool with anyone, maybe except Adam McVeigh. But Dallas was
forgot all
like a
about
very
that.
friendly, lovely guy.
So I was just wondering if Dallas was still going today, like strong and healthy, where do you think he'd be at the Olympia?
Um, I personally think he could have potentially won the 2019 Olympia because that was when it was an open title. And I think even though Brandon looked really good that year, I think there's a couple of people that could have. I'm not taking that away from Brandon. I actually did have Brandon winning, but like I could make a point that Hottie could have won. I could have made a point for a couple of guys who could have won. But I think if Dallas would have been in that mix, he could have taken that possibly.
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, he got second at the Arnold, and that was not his best look. I think he was off, but I also think his health conditions were starting to show at that point, and I think that's probably why he was a little bit off.
Let's say he was in the Olympia today and like projected to go the same way. Where do you think he would have placed?
Um, he would be in the top five for sure. I mean, if he could replicate like the best condition that I ever saw Dallas in was his pro debut when he won the Cal Pro. Like when he came out, I was like, man, this guy is hard. Like he's very just a lot of dense muscle, especially for his age at that time. If he could bring that level of conditioning and not worry about the scale, don't worry about size, make sure the midsection stays in check because it was starting to become a little bit of a problem towards the end of his career. I think, well, I hate to say career, but towards the end of his life, unfortunately.
Mm.
But again, I think that also played into his underlying health issues as to why that is where it was at. And we all know his drug use was not normal. Like that was,
Did
I
you
can't, I
ever,
would do what?
did you like ever like, did he ever talk to you about that stuff, like drug use or anything? Or
No, it was really weird, man, because most pros, like, we don't normally talk about, like, hey, what do you take? You know, this is what I take. What's It's not a normal conversation.
yeah.
Me and Dallas, he actually told me his brother had a motorcycle shop, if I'm not mistaken. He invited me up to Tennessee to go out riding bikes because he knew I had a couple prior. So we talked about that kind of stuff. We talked a little bit about martial arts. He'd always talk about football and stuff. Of course, I'm not a football fan, so that's like you're speaking a foreign language. But, you know, we would talk about that kind of stuff. We'd talk about lifting a little bit, but surprisingly, most of our conversations didn't actually go around bodybuilding. And had they have went to that topic, me and him would have definitely had a major sit down. Like, be like, look, man, if you don't believe me, go talk to Matt because Matt's seen my numbers. Matt knows what I use, and they ain't even fucking close to where your numbers are at. Like, what you're doing, I would have just told him, like, you're going to die. Like, we never had that conversation. And since then, since his passing, I know one person I will not name drop, but he still to this day has the WhatsApp messages between the two of them. And this was not like he's notorious. He's known for the testosterone, right? Because that's what we saw in the autopsy report. Well, I know of a couple of other drugs that he, you know, used as well, and they were to put it into perspective, it would have been 10 times the amount that I took of it, approximately 10 times the amount. So he was not light on anything.
And he did that all together.
Yeah, well, his autopsy report, I'm sure when he's prepping,
Yeah.
I'm sure it was crazy stupid. But his autopsy report, if you look at the toxicology, he only tested positive for epitestosterone, which is synthetic testosterone, what we take. I think caffeine and marijuana, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm like, wait a minute. And then I saw his levels that it was like 550. I'm like, damn, man, Dallas is only taking 100 milligrams of test at like 330 pounds. I'm like, holy shit. But I didn't realize the unit. When you
Yeah.
convert that units, it was actually 55,000. I'm like, oh, that's another level right there. I really thought, I was like, I thought he had, like, I saw the autopsy report. I'm like, he's only using 100 milligrams of test. He probably really did choke on food. And then like everything came out. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. And
that's a bit disheartening.
It's
and
fucking
and
crazy.
he went down on stage. Was that in Australia?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Or it was
and
either Australia or New Zealand.
Was
yeah,
it
and I
Denver?
think
Huh?
anyone at the time that knew what they were looking at could tell he wasn't healthy. Just in his face, his body weight kept creeping up, and it didn't need to. I think he was up to like 320 at the time, or pushing even higher.
Well, I saw him guest
So
close here in Wisconsin. He was like 335.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was hit like 330, 335 range.
And
But
he only posed for like a minute and he was like done.
yeah.
Gee.
I remember that day when I was at work sitting at my desk and my buddy texted me and I think what frustrated me the most about that whole experience was everyone's like, oh, what a terrible loss of potential. Oh, he would have won the Mr. Olympia. And it's like, what about the guy outside the sport? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what I liked about Dallas the most is who he was as a person within the sport. He was so relatable. He was funny. He was kind. To your point, I didn't ever hear a bad story or someone who didn't like him as a person. Um, and I think that's rare, like having someone with that type of personality in our sport that typically attracts people that kind of struggle with being outgoing and confident and likable. Uh,
Yeah.
it was a big
The only
loss to the industry. Yeah.
the only person that didn't like him, this guy didn't like anybody, and nobody liked him either. And I mentioned his name a second ago, was Adam
Yeah. I
Ajay.
forgot all about that guy, to be honest. He was an
Well,
Illinois guy.
No one liked him.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You know he's dead though, right?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I normally would feel terrible speaking bad upon someone that's passed away, but quite frankly, I'm glad he's gone. And I'll just say it on camera. I hated him so much that I don't care. He was a nuisance and he was a leech to the entire industry,
Hmm.
Very
as far
negative.
as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And what was funny, Dallas was going to fight him at a show one time. It was at the Mr. Kentucky. Dallas was living, I think, in the Lexington area, or maybe he had moved back to Tennessee. But either way, it's not very far from each other. It's like a 2.5 hour drive. And he made the comment, and somehow he involved Matt into it. And this is when we were all three, still friends. And Matt was going to do the show, and Adam said he was going to drive in to see the show just so he could watch Matt get his ass kicked. So that pissed Dallas off. And Dallas, we were talking. He goes, dude, if he shows his face, he goes, I am going to just sucker punch him and knock him out. I said, no, 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 no. Don't do that, man. I said, don't do that. I said, I'm confident you can, and I know that you will. I was like, I have zero doubt that you're going to do this. I said, but listen to me for a second. I'm the guest poser at this show. I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get one up on him because if you hit him, the IFBB is going to come at you, suspend your pro card. You're going to lose sponsors. You're going to lose contracts, and that little hit is 100% going to press charges. So I was like, don't touch him. I said, what I'm going to do, since I'm the guest poser and I knew the promoter very well, I was like, if you see him, let me know. I'm going to go to the promoter and we're going to, get your cameras ready. We're going to have him escorted out by security. Just embarrass him a little bit. Let him drive 4 or 5 hours to get here, only to get escorted out by security.
I was gonna
I
say you
mean,
should have pulled him up on stage to
That's what I was thinking.
guys. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, really put him in his place.
That's what I was thinking he was
Go
going to.
ahead and pose next to Matt, because at the time Matt looked good. He was, you know,
yeah, that
that's
was,
it.
well, that was
Yeah,
a light heavy at that time. He was kind of like up and coming. I think the
yeah.
following year, no, maybe 2 years later,
That
it was Matt.
USA's year, he looked solid.
Yeah,
But
me and him were starting to grow apart, so to
yeah.
say, at that point. I didn't expect that out of him. The fact that he got third in the heavyweight at USA's, I never saw that level of potential in him
Hmm.
until that day. Then I think he tore a pec, like,
He did.
tore a
Yeah.
pec.
Benching. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Justin. Was there ever a point in your career, either off season or prep, where you felt like extremely unhealthy, where you were just kind of questioning, like, should I keep going with these doses, or was there ever like that turning point?
It was never like a dose thing where I felt that anything was off with, but every peak off season,
It's amazing.
whether it had been 225 pounds or 300 pounds. Because I remember the first time I hit 225, I was like, fuck, I'm out of breath. Like shit. I was like, how does these guys get this big? Like, I don't understand. Your body will adapt when it comes to that body weight. And then following one, I got to like 240, and then it was like 250, it was like 260. And every time I would get to that weight, I'm like, oh, I'm tired, I'm sluggish. And I remember at the biggest I ever competed at 265. I didn't do this because it would have been counterproductive to like my career, but I felt like I could have genuinely went on a hike. Like I could have hiked a mountain in 265. Probably wouldn't have been as fast as other people, but I could have done it.
Hmm.
So like your body will adapt and overcome. The thing that probably got me the most was a lot of people always say, "Oh, you're blessed with a good metabolism." And now that I'm a little older, I'm thankful because it's common for me to eat like a half a gallon of ice cream a night or something like that. I stay where I'm at. So I'm thankful. But when I was competing, trying to eat 8 to 9 thousand calories, yeah, 8 to 9 thousand. I've been called out. People said, "Oh, you're full of shit. You're lying." I'm like, what? Like, I'm not using this as a bragging point. I did not enjoy that at all. Like, it was miserable to have to do that. Like, it's not like I'm bragging, saying, "Oh, look at me, I can do this." Like, no, it's quite the opposite. But that was the point. Like sometimes I'm eating my food and I'm just like, what the hell am I doing with my life? I'm literally about to vomit. And I know I got another meal coming in 2.5 hours. Like that was probably the hardest part. The training, no, I love that. I still love training. Like the PEDs and stuff like that. I don't think I ever really took a dose that was like my dosages now are laughed at. Like compared to like what I see online, they're it's fucking laughable. And I don't think I took low dose. But like when I'm hearing guys say that it takes 3 to 5 grams of test, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like you're doing something way wrong. If it takes 3 grams of test to get you to any level, you're doing something wrong. But like I never really was afraid of that. My blood work always came back good. Only thing that came back high, liver enzymes, pretty typical for most bodybuilders to be anywhere between 80 and maybe 150, 160, at the peak of a cycle. I did see an HDL one time of 12. That did not make me feel good. I was 2 weeks out from the Arnold. So that was kind of like, yeah, as soon as the show's over, you're not going to do your typical rebound. Like you're going to have to shut things down and clean this shit up. But thankfully, one thing that I did have in my corner that it didn't matter because everything looked good anyways, but it was the first time I had this done. I have a friend who's a cardiac sonographer, and he always gave me like free echoes.
Mm.
And whenever I did the first one, I could tell by like me and him have been friends since 2010. So we've known each other a very long time. He gets me on his table at like 295 pounds. I could tell the nervousness. Like he's thinking, oh God, I'm gonna have to tell this guy he's fucking dying or something. The nervousness. And then when he's actually like putting the little machine, like going over it, I'm just looking at his face and like obviously the screen, I can see the screen, but I have no idea what I'm looking at. And the look on his face, I'm like, oh, yeah. And he goes, dude, because I really can't believe it. He goes, you have no enlargement and no thickening of your walls, 295 pounds. Now that's sheer luck right there, though.
Genetics.
That's genetics and luck
Yeah.
because that is not normal at all.
Because even like endurance athletes will get thickening of the wall. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just I got gifted a good card in life on that person. So, but I'm not gonna lie, when I was laying there and I'm seeing like the look on his face, I'm sitting here thinking, like, well, yes, I'm actually gonna die. But like when he told me the results of it, I was like, oh, my ejection fraction was 68. I'm like, shit, everything is perfect, right
You're
where it
thinking
should be.
40.
Do what?
I said, you're thinking it's like 40.
I didn't even know what an ejection fraction was at that point in my life, to be
Okay.
fair. Like when he told me 68, I was like, is that my heart function? He goes, yeah.
That's good.
And I was like, shit, my heart's only function on 68%. Like, but there is no 100 on ejection fraction. I learned all of that through him.
Yeah.
Justin, were you taking blood pressure meds and stuff back then, and like the supplements? Were you doing any of that, or just kind of
I used certain supplements, but I actually never had a blood pressure issue unless I got a hold of real pharmaceutical, straight, literally from CVS pharmacy, Anadrol. It was prescribed to an anemic patient. I was not anemic, obviously, so it wasn't prescribed to me. But when people talk about using like 100 to 200 milligrams of Anadrol, I have no idea how you do it. No clue. This literally had the guy's name on the bottle, and I took 50 milligrams. The first day, I immediately just felt full, like muscles full, round, popping. By day 4, day 5, I started getting headaches. I'm like, that's not cool. And I couldn't really figure out what it was because I had taken Anadrol before. I had taken 100 milligrams of Anadrol at one point. So, but I realized what I was getting underground was nothing compared to what I got out of this pharmacy. This was the real shit. So it did increase my blood pressure. I saw a number of like 160 something, and I was like, whoa, whoa. And I didn't want to say, well, let me just go get blood pressure meds and counter that. I was more the type to say, you know what? Let's just get rid of that. I'd rather go that route. Like Trend didn't cause it. Halo caused it a little bit with me, blood pressure, like towards the end. I just tolerated it for about 3 weeks before a show, and it would go like 150, 155. But again, that was a 3 week period, and I was like, I don't really want to start blood pressure meds for a couple of weeks. I didn't feel like it was like at a stroke level. Now, if you were running like 150s, 160s for years on end, you're going to have cardiovascular issues. You're going to have kidney issues.
Kidney.
But if you're just doing it for 2 to 3 weeks, you're probably going to be fine. I was fine.
Yeah. So with your clients, when you're working with them and they have blood pressure issues, let's say they're cycling Trin or something, do you throw meds in or do you typically have them lower the dosages?
It depends. I like to have a call with them. Like when it comes to something like that, because that's obviously a serious health concern, I will basically tell them like, hey, if you want to continue on with this is what you need to do. Go get telmisartan. Like most doctors will just give it to you. Like it's like you could probably like honestly, you could probably even do a telehealth appointment and get a prescription for it. It wouldn't be hard, I don't think. But go to a primary, go to an urgent care, go wherever you want. You can get blood pressure meds. I don't see that being an issue. Or we can pull out of it. We can, but I want them to make the decision. I don't want to be the one to say, no, you're going to take this drug and then you're going to add four more drugs to counter the side effects of that. I always want them to be very informed of what they're doing and not just push shit at people just for the sake of doing it. It's just like when you, like, I'm sure if you guys ever had someone who has been natural and then they want to start taking gear, like, that conversation that you need to explain to them, like, hey, like if your natural test levels is at 750 and you do this for a couple of years, you may be on TRT sooner than you want to be in life. And I always have that conversation when I have someone who's natural that's trying to go enhanced. Like I want them to be fully aware of all the consequences, all the possibilities. And then when they make the decision, then I'll start making my recommendation.
Mhm.
Justin, for blood pressure, like through your clients, do you see a lot of the time that the blood pressure issue is mostly related to weight, not drugs?
Yes.
Okay.
Like
That's
I
what I
don't
see too.
I have had some smaller guys, and I don't want to say smaller, heavily muscle guys, but like 180 to 200 pounds. But if you have a guy who's 5'5" at 200 pounds, that's not a little guy.
No.
But like it's usually the guys I see that's like 250 plus that will start having the blood pressure issues. But I have seen some smaller people with blood pressure issues. So it can just be the fact that like if you're a 5'5" guy, your body's not meant to have that much muscle on it. So your heart and your kidneys are both because your kidneys regulate your blood pressure. So between that, it may just can't handle it.
Yeah.
So I mean, at that point, you got to make the decision. You want to go on the blood pressure meds and continue your career, or do you want to back off because you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it.
Yeah.
And I don't really see any problem with running like telmisartan and amlodipine, lisinopril.
Yeah.
Obviously, my goal would be telmisartan, but like pick and choose. If it's got side effects that you can't handle, go with a different one. And like I said, that's the good thing that doctors are usually very open. If you go into the doctor and say, I've got high estrogen, I got discharged as a patient one time because I had high estrogen. They literally sent me a paper in the mail saying that like I'm more or less that you're not welcome back in my office because they saw me as a liability.
Oh wow.
They knew I was taking gear.
But if you smoke cigarettes, you're okay.
Do what?
If you smoke cigarettes, you're okay.
Perfectly fine. Yeah, if you go in there with high blood pressure due to alcohol or cigarettes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. No worries.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went in and my estrogen level is a little bit high. And not gonna lie, I was trying to get a prescription for a Arimidex. But not only did she say no, she discharged me as a patient. I'm like, ouch. So I learned how to navigate through that. But when it comes to blood pressure, that's probably the most common medication that they just hand out.
Mhm.
So anyone that's got blood pressure issues, go get it fixed. Either change your lifestyle or put the meds in, but don't live with high blood pressure.
Yeah, I think it's crazy now. The guys today, we have access to so much. I mean, you can literally go to telerx.com and get a script without even seeing a doctor for blood pressure meds now. And I just find that a lot of guys just still aren't even monitoring their blood pressure. They're not monitoring their blood sugar. Do you think that guys today having more access to that stuff, do you think they're better for it? Or do you think they're still just neglecting it like they used to in the past?
It's both.
Yeah.
I've got some people that is so proactive and almost hypochondriacs per se. Like I've got one guy. I've grown to actually like this guy. We've developed a friendship. If his blood pressure goes above, like if that top number is over 125, he thinks he's going to die. Like he's totally convinced he's going to have a stroke if it gets to 130. I'm like, dude, chill out. But then I have people that will see like some really fucked up labs, and they're like, "Oh, it's not that big a deal." I'm like, well, let me tell you, it is a big. Like there is certain things that need to be addressed. Like if I see an HDL below 15, we're going to pump the brakes. We're going to try our best to fix this through diet. We're going to try our best to fix this through cardio, supplementation. And then if that don't work, I'm going to highly suggest a statin drug at that point. That's my very final last resort. Like there's certain things that I just won't overlook. Like again, I can make my recommendations to people, but I can't make them do it. That's kind of like a sad part with things. Is like sometimes people just don't because they don't feel it.
Yeah.
They look good, they feel good, like, oh, everything's fine. Like it's not a big deal. Well, sometimes it is a big deal. And I will say, like, just being proactive with things. There was one guy, and I consider him a friend as well. Surprisingly, we've actually never met. He's in another country, but we've talked on the phone a lot, and I've prepped him. He's on the older side. He's a master's, and he hit me up, and he wanted to do a show. He wanted to do another show, that is, because he had competed a few times. And I said, okay, I'm down. And I got thinking, I was like, he bodybuilded, he was doing bodybuilding when he was younger. Then he had like a 20-year layoff, maybe more. And then he wanted to come back. And I don't know what he did during those 20 years, but a lot of times people end up drinking, cigarettes, whatever. I have no idea. And I'm looking at his regular labs. His labs came back good. No reason for me to actually think anything was off at all. And I said, hey, do me a favor. I said, I want you to do one other test. I said, before we start a prep, before I agree to take you on to do this, I said, go get a calcium score done. It's over 500.
Yeah.
And he actually ended up with open heart surgery to get that fixed. So, but however, if we hadn't have done that, I may have put the nail in the coffin with the prep.
Sure. No, I think
Like,
that's, yeah. Yeah, I work with AJ Sims. He's my coach. We've been together for a couple of years. He's the same way, right when he takes you on as a client, he wants a CT angiogram, CT calcium. You just don't know what guys have been doing before they come to work with you. So, you throw a bunch of gear on top of that, you have no idea. And, I'm sure you've seen this as well, but, every client thinks they're the exception. They think that, oh, it won't happen to me. And, I don't need to do that. So, uh,
yeah,
it's
especially
crazy.
the young ones.
Yeah.
The older guys, I'm able, like, when it comes to health, anyone that's like 35 and up, I can say something that I usually take, they usually adhere to it. But it's the younger guys that, like, they don't want to hear it or they don't want to spend the money. Like, I've got one guy, I don't have him anymore. He was kind of a sensation in bodybuilding at one point. I wish I could say who this was, but I don't want to attach a name to the story. Um, let's say this. This guy could have changed a specific category. He could have completely redid the last 7 to 8 years of bodybuilding had he have just posed a little bit better. But that's a whole different story. So when I started working with him, we went from a heavyweight to a super heavyweight, and I said, "Hey, have you got any labs done anytime recently?" I said, "I forgot to ask you that initially because this was someone that I knew personally, like we grew up in the same area." And he said, "No." I said, "Well, I think you should at least go get a CBC, go get your comprehensive metabolic panel, go get a lipid panel, get your thyroid, check your tests, check your estrogen." I said,
Sure.
CRP, get a few things done for me." I gave him a list, and he goes, "How much is that going to cost?" And I was like, depending on who you're going through, depending on if you do insurance, private, I said it probably it could be as cheap as $200, maybe as high as $500. He goes, oh, it's quite a bit of money, man. I don't want to do that. This is a guy who I had to fight him on this. He was at 15 IU a GH already, and he wanted to go to 20. And I said, hey,
Real, Justin with real GH? Or
oh
fine.
yes, it was no, it was. Hang on just a second, guys.
Hey,
I got
guys.
a phone call coming in here, and it kind of screwed me up. You still good?
Yeah, we're good.
No, no, it was generic, but it was Rip Trope. If you
Okay.
remember those, so
Back
it
in the
was
day,
it was
yeah.
it was real. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was. Hell, when you saw me at that show, I was using Rip Trope then. So like I know it was legit, but like
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, me and him were, we had the same source. I think it was around like 140 for 100 units of it, give or take. And I'm like, okay, man, like this doesn't make sense to me. Like I was
GH.
like, look at me and look at you. I'm bigger than you in every single aspect, and I'm a pro and you're not. Why am I taking less GH than you? Like, why do you feel the need to go to 20? So if you go to 20 and get your pro card, then what? 25? So you're going to be ridiculous. Like, where are you going to go? So I actually talked him down. I talked him down to 10 a day. Now, whether he listened to me or not, that's a whole different story. I assume he did because that's what he agreed on. But I just explained to him, I was like, in 10 days, you went through $150, but you're telling me you can't afford lab. This makes absolutely no sense to me at all.
Yeah.
Like you can afford to take this amount of growth hormone, but you don't want to do labs. You can't afford it. So I actually argued with him, and guess what? To this fucking day, this is 8, 9 years ago. To this day, I don't think he's ever gotten lab work done. Ever.
Jeez.
Uh, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think this man's ever had any type of medical exam ever.
Fucking crazy.
No, I really think a lot of guys just don't want to know. I've met so many guys over the years in terms of health, and 'cause I see a lot of labs from like TRT clinics and stuff that I review. And I mean, some people just don't want to know if they because they know once they see it, they have to face it and they have to address it. If they're competing at a top level and all of a sudden they see their blood work's bad or they get a bad, CT calcium score, then it could mean the end of competing for them. So for them, it's like, don't ask, don't tell. If they don't see it, it doesn't make it real. And it's just unfortunate because those guys usually end up falling over or having some huge health scare in their life.
Yes, you're 100% right. And I don't wish this for the guy that I was referring to, but I know there will be a day that either he's going to have like a heart attack or hopefully I don't see an RIP post one day, but like there's going to be a day that something is going to arise from this.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he was not easy on the regular PEDs either. So, do the math on that. Couldn't even get him to do a blood donation. Couldn't get him to do anything. So like I'm just like, and he was also a guy. Just generally speaking, one of my methodologies of the way that I was kind of taught bodybuilding is, once you get to that point that cycling on, cycling off isn't working anymore, and you need TRT, take TRT. But like we're going to run anywhere from 8 weeks up to 20 weeks, depending on the circumstances, and then we're going to drop back down to TRT for a while. He wasn't one of those guys. He was the guy that was like, okay, I'm going to put my test at this level. And it's going to stay here. And then I'm going to run DECA for 10 weeks. And then I'm going to drop that. I'm going to run EQ for 10 weeks. And I'm going to drop that and run Primo and Trim for 10 weeks. He just constantly cycled that in and out all the time. So I'm just thinking, I'm like, dude, your blood's got to look like transmission fluid.
Oh,
Chris, I got to drop.
Yeah, all good, man. Thanks for
Yeah,
having
you
on.
guys enjoyed, Justin. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, you too, man.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
See you, buddy.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of guys are afraid to accept, like this may be the reality, but you have to look at it like I never was that way when I was younger, but like you got to look at it like this. Unless you have no girlfriend, no wife, no mom, no dad, no children, no nothing. Most of us all have something to live for. And like
Yeah.
Maybe you're not a bodybuilder. Maybe you lose your identity as being the big guy in the gym. Maybe you lose this, but guess what? You're still here. You got another chance. But like, do you really like when people say like, I'm going to get big or die trying? Do you
Was that
really
really
want to do
mean?
that?
Yeah. Yeah, easier said than done. Justin, just because we were talking about this before you hopped on, when you decided to step away and retire from bodybuilding, what actually was it that got you? Was it a shoulder injury? I read somewhere online that you had a colon a tear possibly as well. What all happened? I mean, it could have been a multitude of things. Just to
It was a
set the record.
multitude. So I'm probably going to I don't even know if I'm going to get this in chronological order. I actually had the shoulder injury a week before my last show. I just pushed on through it. It just continued to get worse and worse and worse. So before I get to the other stuff, yeah, I thought I had a tear. It wasn't a tear. It was actually a separated AC joint, and it just continued to get so inflamed so I'm left-handed, and I couldn't take a right turn in my car. Like I could not physically move my arm. My arm was pretty much worthless, but I was able to push through it. And the more I pushed, the more it hurt. So every time I go to the gym, just more inflammation, and more. So that had nothing else happened in my life, that was going to have to be addressed. No matter what, that was going to have to be addressed. And I was pushing it off, and BPC, TV 500, little rest, little ice, some, chiropractic adjustments. No, none of that shit was going to fix that. Uh, what I ended up doing with that about 8 months later, they put an injection, was it cortisone?
Mhm.
Basically, I was training the next day like it never even happened. And then fast forward, I did end up having to have surgery in 2023. I think yeah. Yeah. So I had surgery in 2023. I woke up one day at like 5 a.m. to go fishing, and my arm was stuck. Like that guy from the scary movie, like Take My Strong Arm? My hand was fucking stuck like this, like frozen. Like if you moved my arm, I'm probably going to punch you with the left one, or sorry, the right one. Like it was intense pain. So they went in and they had to clean everything out, but I had a calcium deposit and a bone spur. Most likely that developed just due to the inflammation of that original injury. It was just something had to happen. So thankfully I didn't have to have anything reattached. And they were able to go with the scope. But back to the original question on that. That would have been November of 2016. I kind of debated on actually retiring at that show because I was very displeased with a lot of things that I was seeing. But that wasn't going to deter me. I was still going to keep pushing. January of 2017. So just fast forward 2 more months. This is so weird how all this can happen. I remember the girl that I was with at that time. I told her I was like, I'm tired of paying two to $300 a month for health insurance. Now I wish I could get health insurance for $200 to $300 a month. But I was like, I'm tired of paying this shit. I said, I'm going to stop. And she was, Justin, I really don't think you should do that. And I said, why? I was like, I haven't fucking been to a doctor since I was a kid almost. I mean, I had a dental surgery, but that was it. And she goes, well, you're a bodybuilder. She's like, she gave me the story of a couple of her friends that's had injuries. And she's like, I really think, she goes, I know you're a tight ass with money. She goes, you're not going to want to shell out 40 or $50,000 for surgery if you have to have one. I was like, hey, fine, you're right. So I took the health insurance. I literally took it on the last day, December 15th, to sign up. So I got my health insurance. Fast forward a month later, I had taken a shot just to be point blank on it. It was an infection, and it wasn't a normal infection either. This was an infection that went septic. So if any of you guys are familiar with that, that can be deadly.
Yeah.
It's like when Ronnie Coleman, like when he had that post earlier this year,
Sis.
there's some about, yeah, sepsis. Like they were saying, like prayers for Ronnie, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's fine." I'm like, "Fuck me!" I was like, "I've been there. I don't know if he's fine or not." I was like, "I actually was thinking about Ronnie. You guys thought just because he's in the hospital that he'll be fine." I'm like, Ronnie's been through a lot in his life. He may not be fine. I do genuinely believe if it wasn't for my overall good health, I would have died. I think it would have actually killed me. Now, a little bit of that was my own stubbornness because I knew I had an infection, or I knew I had something. Let me rephrase that. I'd never had an infection prior. I knew there was something wrong. I mean, everybody gets a little, we've all, if we've taken a shot, put a pin here or there, get a little redness, a little swelling, a little pain. A couple days, it's gone. And I just thought that's what it was. This didn't just go away. This continued to grow and grow and grow and grow. It was growing at a rapid pace. And I also remember I had a friend of mine. He lives in South Florida. He's actually owned a TRT clinic. I don't know if he still does or not. But I kind of wanted a prescription because I was traveling internationally. That way I could just throw my tests in my bag and I could go, and customs can't say anything to me. I call him and I was like, hey, can you, because he had been begging me. He wanted to get me on board. I was like, hey, let's do this. So he puts the blood work in. I go to Quest, get my labs done, and he calls me at 9 o'clock at night. He actually called me 18 times at 9 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow.
I didn't see it because I had my phone down. And I looked up and I'm like, I felt like death because I was knocking on the door of death. And I called him back. I was like, hey man, I'm like kind of like got my eyes closed. I'm like, hey, what's up? He goes, where you at? I was like, driving home. He goes, nope, turn the car around, go to the ER. I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you need to go to the ER right now. And he goes, if you don't go, he says, I am going to call an ambulance and send them to your house. I was like, okay. And I lied. I was like, of course. I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I went home anyways. I didn't go to the, I went home. And when I got home, it just hit me so hard. I remember I went to the toilet. I went to the bathroom. I couldn't get up. I was so weak, I could not get up. I remember reaching up and grabbed my towel rack and I pulled it off the wall. I was like, okay. I kept, because like it went on for like 7 or 8 days. And I was like, oh, you got the flu. You're going to get better, blah, 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 blah. And I remember seeing my ex in the gym maybe like 3 days prior. And I was doing like curls with like 30-pound dumbbells, which was light for me. And she comes up, she goes, Justin, you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. She goes, you don't look very good. And I thought she was just taking a poke at me. I thought she was just, being a bitch. And I remember the gym owner, I'm like, and I'm just like profusely sweating everywhere. He goes, you all right, Justin? I'm like, yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good, Jeff. It's all good. And then, like I said, 3 days later, I ended up calling her because I've never experienced any health concern in my life. I didn't realize all you got to do is call an ambulance.
Yeah.
So I called her and I was like, hey, I called her at like 10 o'clock at night. And I remember she jumped my ass to this. And she's like, she answered the phone like, what? I was like, yeah, I guess I deserve that at this point. But we had both moved from Kentucky to Florida. So like she didn't have any friends. I didn't have any friends. Like we were pretty much, even though we weren't together, we were the only people that we knew. So I was like, hey, you know where my spare keys at? She's like, yeah. I was like, can you please come over and take me to the hospital? And she, of course, she's kind of giving me down the road shit. And I remember when I walked in there, the doctors was like, I go in, I tell them like, hey, I have a friend. He told me I had some abnormal labs. They just took a look at me like, you could tell they did not suspect anything because I didn't look sick. I didn't, nothing on the outside. They couldn't believe when they saw the labs, they couldn't believe I physically walked in on my own 2 feet. So they tried to put me in a wheelchair, and I don't need no fucking wheelchair. Then I'm like, you know what? It does sound nice. It's like, I was like, it's exhausting to stand up. I was like, the wheelchair sounds nice. I'll take it. So, needless to say, that was about a 2 week fiasco of ICU, clearly. As they were not even remotely concerned about the infection. It was the least of their concern. I remember going back to that blood pressure topic. I remember my resting heart rate at that time was over 100. It was like 115, 120, just resting.
Yeah.
Do what? They were thinking that this guy's going to have a heart attack. That was the first thing that they were thinking. And my blood pressure was like 200 over something. It was over 200. And they literally was like, fuck whatever else he's got going on. You got to make sure this guy doesn't just die. So I'm getting like IV blood pressure meds, like beta blockers, all kinds. Like I'm hearing all this like shit around me, and like I don't have a clue what's going on. I'm thinking I'm gonna die, right? They actually kind of told me like you don't know if you're gonna make it. That was literally word for word. And that's me dumbing it down. The truth be told, the doctor asked me if I had family. I said, yeah. He goes, well, I suggest you call them because you may not be here. I was like,
Wow.
wow. I was like, they really didn't teach you much in psychology of how to deal with your patients, did they? Like, don't worry. Don't you just drove my heart rate up another 15 beats per minute
That's
just
an
by
ER
telling me that.
doctor for that's an ER doctor for you.
So I get through that. The shoulder is now cooked. That's done. I had to make an appearance at the Arnold. I had a minor, at the time, I thought it was a major, but it was a minor bicep tear on my right side. My arm swelled up. I didn't even realize, when I said I had a tear, I didn't even know I had a tear. Genuinely didn't know. And I remember I was in the hotel room with one of my best friends at the time, and he looks at me and he goes, "Hey man, did you stick something in your right or in your biceps?" I said, I kind of got offended that he said that. I was like, you of all people have known me my entire life. I was like, I don't use any SEO shit. So like when he said that, I kind of got defensive. And he goes, well, your right bicep looks a little funky right now. And I was like, huh? And like I looked in the mirror and I was like, holy shit, it does look weird. And I flexed and we put a tape measure on it. It was over 25 inches because of the inflammation, swelling. Like I ended up bruising all the way down. And I remember the night before because I'd landed in Columbus. I know what did it because I felt like a pinch, but there was really no pain associated. I wanted to work out at the hotel gym because Lord forbid I go to Powerhouse. I'm just going to get mobbed. It's like I'm going to get something in. And I remember doing cables, and I'm going to do shoulders. So I grabbed the cable at the bottom and I took a step forward. That way it would pull my arm back. And I guess when I was actually doing my front raise, by having my hand in this position, it must have like snapped the bicep a little bit. Didn't need surgery. It does not look deformed. That was, I guess you would say, strike two or strike three. Had a gallbladder attack in April, put me back in the ER. Late April, I had pneumonia, back in the ER again. It was dry pneumonia too, so like I wasn't coughing.
Right.
So I dealt with that, and then I think it was around May, and this was quite comical because about like the colon thing. It was actually called a fissure. Are you familiar with what that is?
No.
Not like Fisher, like you're catching fish. It's spelled
Yeah.
different. So I didn't know what the hell had caused this. And I think I know what had caused it now because at the time that this developed, I had gotten a colonic. And I think there was something went wrong with that. And I
Okay.
remember just being like completely honest and transparent with people, and everyone's like, "Oh, Justin's gay." I'm like, "How in the hell did you come up with that for me telling you this?" I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like, this is what I get for actually trying to be nice to my fans. It's like, I mean, there's nothing wrong if you want to be gay. That's fine. I'm not making fun of anybody that is. Like, I'm not homophobic or anything. But like, how the hell did you all get I'm gay out of me telling you I had to have a surgery there?
Right.
So I think I ended up with like pneumonia again, and then I got engaged all through that a new relationship that ended up in an engagement that also failed immediately.
My gosh.
Like all this failed, and at that point I was like, you know what? I'm done. I just more or less for about a year I crawled in a hole. I didn't come out. Like, and I'll upstairs mentally. You did not want to be around me. I completely because bodybuilding is the only thing I knew at that point. And I saw how like quickly fans and sponsors and promoters and just the way that I was treated and viewed was much different.
Mhm.
And I realized, and I think it kind of like pushed me over the edge because I was like pretty nice to people. And now I'm just like, if you're nice to me, I'm nice to you. But if you're not nice to me, you're going to see a very nasty side of me, like a side that most people has never didn't knew existed. So I realized, like, no more of this nice guy bullshit. Like, you guys have literally thrown me under the bus because I've had medical health issues, and you always want to talk shit. I was like, when you see me in person, don't fucking stick your hand out to shake my hand. Walk away. Look the other direction. Don't even come up to me. And I've told people that before. I'm like, people's like, "Hey man, how you doing?" I'm like, "It'd be better if you get the fuck away from me." Like, because I saw your comments online. I remember your name. I remember your face. Like, don't be friendly with me too much. Don't be friendly with me because you're in front of me now. So like it did kind of push me to a point like mentally I was not I don't want to say I wasn't safe because I wasn't suicidal. I was angry, like more homicidal than I was anything.
Yeah.
So it mentally, and then obviously I did come off. I had a testosterone level of 81. You can imagine how that made me feel too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Huge.
Chris,
So
Chris, I got a dip. See you guys.
See you,
Justin, nice
bud.
to meet you.
All right, man, you too.
See ya.
Well, actually, the second time since you met me in
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. That's true, man. See ya.
oh man. Well, I could keep asking questions for hours, but Chris, I'll let you, I don't know what your time limit is here, but it's
Yeah,
all
we're wrapping up. We'll probably maybe just a few more.
All right, yeah, I'm good,
Yeah.
man.
Towards the end, like, obviously you won the Arnold. Towards the end of the career, did you ever experiment with like any exotics like mint or super drawl, any of like the SARM stuff?
SARMs, I actually tried carnarine, and then very shortly around that time, there was like studies that came out saying it was linked to cancer, and I'm like, no, out, done. And just before I finish answering that question, if anybody's watching this and like they're my clients or anything, the reason I'm not on board with all the new, like within the past 12 to 18 months, we've gotten so many new, like groundbreaking, I would almost call it. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if you call it peptides, SARMs, supplements, whatever. We've got a lot of cool shit out there. And on paper, it looks amazing. And I've seen people use it with amazing results. But in the back of my head, I'm just like, as much as I want my clients to I want to make their journey easier and as successful as possible. Like when Ozempic came out, everyone wanted to get on Ozempic, and I'm like, do it, don't do it. And then now it's linked to all these issues. They're over like $2 billion deep in lawsuits.
Hmm.
So even though like all this stuff looks good on paper, I want to see it around for at least 5 years because I feel like after 5, 6 years, if we haven't seen anything bad, then I'm going to hop on board with it. For right now, I'm researching, watching, observing. So a lot of the new stuff, I just simply don't incorporate it into people's plans because I'm not sold. I don't, and also I'm kind of one of those people that like I don't want to tell you to take something that I never took as well because I feel like I'm guinea pigging you, and I don't want to do that with anyone. So back to that question, I did not do any peptides at all. I tried CJC and thought I tried it for 2 weeks. Garbage, junk.
Hmm.
Didn't do shit for me. I was like, better buy G8. Works much better. I didn't use any of the other SARMs. There is one I'm saving for the end. I did not do mint. I tried Superdraw, and it was actually the worst compound I've ever touched. I would rather take 100 milligrams of that pharmaceutical Anadrol than to take 20 milligrams of Superdraw. It made me, I just felt bad, if that makes sense. Like the lethargy,
Hmm.
like when I'm in the gym and I'm hyped up, I'm okay. Like when I'm not in the gym, it was like, I didn't care if I lived or died. Like I felt absolutely terrible. I think I was supposed to run like 3 weeks of it is what I had wrote down for myself. I don't think I made it past like 10 to 12 days. Like it was toxic to me. Like people talk about halotestin being toxic. I'll take 50 milligrams of Halo before I take 20 Superdraw, and 30 was my Halo limit. But I'm saying I'm willing to go way above before I take Superdraw. That drug, unless I got like a batch of something that was not Superdraw, I did not care for it. Now, the last exotic that I will say that you didn't mention here, a lot of people are going to hop on board and probably say otherwise. I did use it for one season because I was on like a 6 month waiting list to get it. But do you remember Increlex?
Hmm.
yeah.
So Increlex was something that was the hype. Everyone was like, "Oh, that's what the oxygen the Kuwait crews use. It's all Increlex." And I'm sure they did. I'm sure they had access to it.
Hmm.
So my guy, who I trusted and still friends with to this day, just seen him recently. I asked him, I was like, "Hey, can you get this?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's going to be very expensive. And it's not." He said, "It ain't going to come quick." He goes, "It's not like getting tests." I was like, "How quick?" I think I waited almost 6 months to get it
Holy
because
shit.
he worked. I'm going to use the word work just for legal sake.
Yeah.
He worked with a lot of top Olympians,
Hmm.
and I know a few of them that use it as well, and they were ahead of me on that list. I remember one. Uh, he told me that the guy screwed up the dosing. And this is actually the one I said Dallas was using 10 times more than me. He was using 1 milligram a day of Increlex. And if anybody out there don't know what Increlex is or the dosing, that's fucking high.
Yeah.
So I started at 50 micrograms just to kind of see what the tolerance to it, and I was able to do 100 micrograms. So 100 is where I was seeing results. I felt good, no side effects, and I'm seeing the results I'm looking for. So why do I need to do more? I went from some of this was not new muscle tissue, it was recovering what was lost. My 2016 prep was not the Arnold prep, that is, was not ideal. I dealt with a major injury in this leg, my left leg. I tore my pectineus 7 weeks out. Didn't train legs pretty much the last 7 weeks for the show. I lost my grandfather like 4 weeks out, and he was the last grandparent I had alive. And then before all that, like 14 weeks out, when we had just moved to Florida, I caught C. diff. Are you familiar with that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've had it many times.
C. diff?
Yeah, I had colitis for 10 years, so
Okay.
it's
Okay. So
really
you
easy to catch with colitis.
Okay. Okay. I was thinking, I was like, you had it several times. I'm like, damn, man, you've had a rough way. Because I
Yeah,
thought I was literally I literally thought I was gonna shit myself to death.
right.
Like no pun intended, but yeah, I was gonna shit myself to death. So I had all that. So I ended up on stage at the Arnold at 247. Fast forward to July, so that would be March, April, May. So 5 months later, I showed up at 265 on stage with better conditioning. Some of that was just muscle loss during the prep because I definitely had more muscle than the 247 pounds that I put on stage. And then there was new muscle as well. So I attribute some of that to Increlex and then the rest of it just due to getting back into training, rebounding properly, and just doing what I was supposed to do. But Increlex was one of the drugs that I tried and I did like it. I'm not gonna lie, but it's expensive and it's not a miracle drug. For the people that's watching, the viewers, you're not going to take Increlex and all of a sudden morph. It doesn't work like that. It's to me that is like the that's for right now as a coach, I would say that's like the final boss level.
Mhm.
Like we're going to go through the very basics, then we're going to up those a little bit, then we may add some GH, up this, then we may go up on the GH. Like I'm going to slowly get to that point, and to this day, I think I've only worked with like 4 people, 4 or 5 people that I felt like actually needed Increlex to get to the next level. But that was I don't really ever hear anything about it anymore. I'm sure it's still used, but I don't really hear anyone talking or raving about it.
It's just so hard to get. Nobody can get it now, so no one really uses it. That's why.
It's not that hard in Europe, and you would be quite surprised at the price.
In Europe,
Like one of my friends that lives over there told me he can get it for like $500 to $600 a bottle.
well, that's not bad. Yeah.
It's about 2,000 over here
Yeah.
by the time it gets here. But the good thing is it's 40 milligrams. And if you're taking 100 micrograms a day, you could theoretically, I don't recommend using it, you know, indefinitely, but you could go 400 days on
Yeah.
at that dosage. So like at the end of the day, it's a big bill to front like right out of the gate at $2,000, but it lasts a very long time.
That's fair.
But that was probably it as far as like exotic for me. Like I never wanted to use like the methyl trend because I just felt like trend was already it was effective and it was already toxic enough. Like why do I if I wanted to do that, I would just use more trend.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
fair. How often did you run trend? Did you use it in your off seasons or just pre-contest?
I did it one off season, and everyone always like criticizes me when I say that. Oh, he ran it all. No, I did not. I did run it every prep. There was not a single prep that I didn't have trend in, so I'll flat out say that. I did not run the crazy dosages that we see. Like I'm seeing nowadays, like people talking like 700 to 1,500 is normal. I'm like, that is not normal.
Yeah.
That is absolutely not normal. So 300 to 350 a week, depending on whether I had enanthate or acetate. I actually prefer the long because I don't like taking every other day shots. Like I don't. I struggle to remember my TRT at this point. Maybe I'm just getting too old. Like, um, I prefer twice a week. Just load everything you're doing, pin twice a week, done. Monday, Thursday was my day because if I'm traveling, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm out of town. I'm not taking anything with me. I'm not gonna get caught at the airport or doing any dumb shit like that. So I preferred the long esters for that reason. Uh, but I did try in 2013 in the off season, and to be fair, it kind of debunks, or excuse me, it kind of debunks what people say about tren, like as far as the side effects. Oh, it makes you angry. I was happy as a pig in shit in 20, like taking it in the off season. In my opinion, the biggest thing when people talk about roid rage or like bodybuilders acting irrational is the caloric deficit. That is the biggest, at least for me, is the actual caloric deficit and being hungry. Like we've all heard the word hangry.
Hmm.
Like, tell you what, uh, no offense to one person here, but if you take a woman's food away from her, you're going to see a whole different woman.
I agree. I always explain to my clients when they start to get emotional and they start to like freak out during prep, and I said, it's the same as a person in chronic pain. We're not happy. We're in,
Yeah.
we're in a state of discomfort all day, every day, and you. I'll just continue, but you take away
Such a fun.
you take away what brings you comfort, which food, sleep, like rest. Like you're just at a heightened state where you're going to bicker with your significant other at times, or you're just not going to be super social because, like a person in chronic pain, you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think people use it to, or maybe some guys or even ladies use it as maybe just an excuse, as like, oh, it's just the drugs, it's just this and that, you know.
Okay. Sorry about that,
Oh,
guys.
you're
Can you hear me?
yeah, you're good, man.
Okay. I need to figure out what's up with the volume because I can barely hear you all.
Okay.
So yeah, the earbuds I have, like if you tap it, it ends a phone call.
Oh yeah,
So that's what got me. I didn't mean to
yeah.
cut you off on that, or
No,
just
you're all
cut everybody off on that. But yeah, it's the caloric deficit. Like you're not happy, you're hungry, and it affects your mood all the time. So like when I died, I did 6 shows natural when I was a teenager, and every prep I was a little shithead to be around, to be fair. And then like taking gear was no different. Like if I was on gear in the off season and life was good, I was good. But the moment that like I won't say the moment I started prep, but once I probably got below like 9% body fat and I'm starting to get a little hunger and the fatigue is setting in, that's when I would catch myself being a little bit more snappy. So it kind of debunks the theory that like trend makes you angry and all this. Now, I did sweat a lot being big in the off season, running trend. I did sweat a little excessively, and I was told I snored quite a bit too. So I did have that issue going on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Justin, this has been great, man. We appreciate your time. We'll wrap up with one final question that you kind of touched on earlier. So, what would you say to someone that is competing and kind of you were saying like the difference between like, good and like great? What would you say is the difference? Like, how does someone that's very good with great potential, how do they become great?
So if they have the like, for one, let's just assume that they know how to train right. You're going to have to push yourself to. You're going to have to go to the gym and put yourself in a place where you don't want to be. You're going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And you're going to have to do that in all sectors of bodybuilding. So first is going to be your training. You're not going to miss training sessions. You're not going to half-ass workouts. Me and Dallas used to talk about one thing as well. Like he was in prep for a show. He's like, dude, do you ever get in the parking lot and have to hype yourself up? I'm like, yes. I'll be sitting in my car and I'm like, dude, I'm tired. I was like, I don't want to do it. Like, for me, 500 grams of carbs was low. So I'm like, oh, my carbs is low. I'm tired. I'm depleted. I would sit there and tell myself, I'd be like, do you really want this or do you just want to be a bitch? Which one do you want to do? Do you really want this or not? Like, go in here and prove to yourself that you're going to do it. I would have to amp myself sometimes to do it. So your workouts can't be off. If it's off season and you're tired, who cares? Do it anyways. You still like because off season is where the muscle's built at.
Hmm.
And I think that's the biggest flaw that I see in a lot of competitors is when they're in the off season, they're a little bit too relaxed. They don't, they're not on top of their nutrition. Of course, they're on top of the gear. I never hear anybody complaining that they never want to take less. Lord forbid they take less drugs. But like it's the nutrition and the training that I see people fail with in the off season. Then when they pick a contest, all of a sudden they become laser focused. That's great. You just look the same as you did last year. Congratulations. You didn't progress. You didn't do anything. That's not a full-time bodybuilder. That is a weekend warrior, as what Phil Heath was referring to, unfortunately referring to as the classic division, which we saw that that's not weekend warriors now. And that division first came out. But like you're just a weekend warrior if you're like if you can handle it for 12 weeks of the year, but not the remainder of the year, you're not really a full-time bodybuilder, and you can't expect greatness from doing that. The only guy that ever got greatness from prep alone was Lavroni.
Hmm.
Like the only guy that I've ever seen just grow his way into a show. And that's not normal for people to do. And people need to understand that, like, no matter how much drugs you take, you're not going to do what he did. No one has replicated what Kevin did to this day. I would love to have Kevin like one on one and actually, like, how did you eat? How did you train? I would love to know because, again, it's never been replicated.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, again, back to nutrition. You're not like, when they were saying how they saw me like sitting there eating while I was at junior nationals. You can't miss a beat. Just because like this is going to sound horrible, but I did do this. Like if it's like 5:30 here. I'm not on an eating schedule right now, but let's just theoretically say I'm supposed to eat at 6. Let's say like my girl comes up to me and she's turned on and she wants to go to the bedroom. I'd look at her and be like, give me about 30 minutes because my food came first.
Mhm.
And I actually felt really bad about this. And to this day, I still feel bad about this because nobody should ever have to hear this. And even if it's how you feel, you shouldn't say it. She asked me, she goes, Justin, when am I ever going to come first? I said, well, what do you mean? I was like, you're always first. She goes, no. She goes, bodybuilding is always first. She goes, when am I going to become first? I said, well, if you put it like that, never. That's point blank. Looked at her and said, never. And I should have never said that. That's a shitty ass thing to say. That's a horrible mindset because you can balance both. And I didn't know how to balance. It can be done. But I was always on top of the nutrition. I was also very strategic, or at least I felt like I was strategic with the way that I planned and mapped out my cycles. So like there was two reasons why I didn't do the Olympia in 2014. One, I had came out of a relationship, getting into a new one, and I just wanted to enjoy the summer. That was one reason. But two, I was like, I like to rebound after shows. So I'm still on gear for like 6 weeks. I'm like, okay, well, that would put me into mid-May, maybe early June, that I don't really have time to clean out, do a proper prep. I was like, the Olympia time frame does not fit my schedule in my head. So no Olympia. I tried to plan as good as I possibly can. And I feel like I had to make strategic moves. And I was always trying to optimize my rest. And that was one of my biggest downfalls is because I have insomnia. Like I got a couple of bottles of pills over there that's prescribed to me. If you guys took that, you wouldn't be awake until Saturday. Like my insomnia is bad, and it's been bad since I was like 19 or 20 years old, and it hasn't went away. So it is what it is. I didn't address it as much as when I was competing. I tried, but I was like, no, I don't want to do any of this drugs. Like I'm already putting anabolics in my body. I don't want to do this. I want to do that. But really, probably would have just made me better, and it wouldn't have hurt me because I just needed proper sleep. But being able to stay on top of every single variable every day, sure, have Thanksgiving dinner, have Christmas dinner with your family. I'm not telling you not to do that, but like, don't go fucking off every weekend. Don't go drinking every Friday night. And you would be quite surprised. Like when I was a kid, social media wasn't around. So I would see bodybuilders talking about their plans. And then, you know, up until 2013, I wasn't ever around any other bodybuilders really, just my local friends. And like my one of my like the guy who got me into bodybuilding, he lived, eat, and slept bodybuilding. That was his life too. That's how I learned. That's how I learned. You don't go to restaurants 3 times a week. You don't go to the bar 3 times a week. You're not doing all this other stuff that's going to be counterproductive to your goals. He kind of taught. He didn't directly teach me that, but I followed his patterns. Then whenever I like started hanging out with like other pro bodybuilders, I'm like, you guys are doing coke? What the hell? You like you guys are doing coke and drinking beer and alcohol, like you're eating pizza, like what is this? Like I realized like, and I also realized those were the same guys that wasn't taking their off season serious. They were the same guys that was second call out pros their entire career too.
Yep.
You know, I can think of 3 or 4 off the top of my head. I won't name drop them because I actually like them as people because I'm not trying to throw them under the bus. But like I can think of 3 or 4 guys that would have beaten me. They would have absolutely beaten me with their genetics, their shape, their potential. And there's only what I would say 3 or 4 top coaches out there, and I was friends with all of them. One of them told me, he said, and he's trained a Mr. Olympia. Guess that narrows it down to 3 people I could be talking about. There's Hani, there's Chris, and there's Chad.
Hmm.
So one of them told me, and it was one of their clients, he goes, this guy would have surpassed Ronnie Coleman if I could just keep his head on straight. And he couldn't do it. He just couldn't fucking do it. He couldn't, like, this guy would have won everything he ever did, but he could not stay just true to the lifestyle. And then the other thing is like cheating on your diet when you're hungry. So many guys, like, I hope my message was clear to one of my clients earlier this week when he checked in with me. He just sends me his check in and he's happy. And I was like, hey man, we're gonna have a talk. I was like, it ain't gonna be a good one. I was like, so is it the cardio or the diet that you're not following, or is it both? And I said, don't lie to me. I know. I said, you're bullshitting. And he just flat and he just he gave me a spill, gave me the reasons why. The thing is, reasons are excuses. And that's kind of what I told him. I was like, I understand life is throwing you curveballs right now. When you tell that to the judges, do you think they're going to give a shit? No, they're not. So if you really want this, you're going to have to buckle up and do it. And that's the thing is a lot of people, some people's coping mechanism is eating food. It's technically that would be an eating disorder, sort of, I guess. I don't know. But like, and I don't know how to deal with that. But if all your cards don't line up, you're not going to go from being good to great. And you also, one other thing people forget about is the financial side of bodybuilding and your lifestyle that goes with bodybuilding. If you're a construction worker, you're probably not going to make it to the Olympia level because your body is so taxed before it even gets to the gym that you don't have anything left in the tank. Like if you're literally outside in 90 to 100-degree weather and you're drinking 3 gallons of water just to stay hydrated, your workouts are going to be poor. And I'm not telling people that they need to change their job, change their careers, but it is stuff that you have to think about if you want to be at the top. So just to kind of emphasize that, I guess you would say, I have an engineering degree. I chose to be a loan officer because I could sit at a desk and air conditioning and I could, eat my meals, make my schedule. And I work for a private company. So like he literally told me, I don't care when is you would not come in this office. I don't care because as long as you're making me money, I don't give a shit when you show up for work. Just do your job. So I had a very relaxed schedule. And that also comes back down to money. Just because you got a relaxed schedule, most stay-at-home jobs don't pay a lot nowadays. Like everyone wants to work from home. Well, you're working from home on $40,000 a year. Good luck paying for your bills and just living your life on $40,000 a year nowadays. So you have to kind of find that balance financially because bodybuilding is going to be a sport that's going to take from you and not give from you for the most part. It did for me. I during my era, I had well over 10 grand a month just coming in endorsements. Those days are gone. Like companies don't pay like that anymore. I know a few bodybuilders that actually have paid contracts, but it is far and few. So nowadays, you got to think about your YouTube, think about, your following. You got to focus on social media. You don't necessarily got to be a salesman. Like Sam Sulik never started out like, oh, go buy my product and get 10% off using code Sam. No, Sam just started out as, I assume Sam just wanted to share his journey with his friends on YouTube, and then boom, look where he's at. That ain't going to happen for everyone though. So just because you start a YouTube channel, don't mean you're going to get rich from it. And you don't got to be rich to be a bodybuilder, but you do have to be financially sound to do it. Like, think about like when you do a show, unless you do one right in your back door, like Chicago's not far away from you, is it?
No, we're 5, 6 hours away. Yeah.
Well, so you could drive that. But let's just say you want to do a show in like California, you're probably going to have to fly.
Right.
So if you had two flights to that, you're well over $1,000, probably close to $1,500. Then
Hmm.
you're adding, the tan, the pro card, or the NPC card. But for you guys, it's pro cards, but you got to pay
Hotel.
that every year. And then, like I said, there's the tan. And then for her, there's the hair, the nails, the makeup. All that shit gets very, very pricey. The suits. So like you can't just do a bodybuilding show on a minimum wage salary. It just doesn't work like that.
Right.
So there's a lot of factors in your life that has to be aligned for you to be great.
Yep.
So it's not just about eating, lifting, and sleeping. Sometimes there is other things that people don't consider. I said you don't got to be a multimillionaire. You don't got to be a millionaire. You don't even got to make 100 grand a year, but you do have to be able to support the lifestyle. Like our diets, we're probably spending double. Now, this is not included when I say average people. This is not including what they spend at the bar and what they spend at restaurants. But if they just go to the grocery store and ate at home, we're spending double that because we're buying higher quality foods and then twice the quantities of it.
Hmm.
So, I'd say the average bodybuilder grocery bill is 250 a week now for like large guys. It's large guys with high metabolisms. They're probably spending $250 a week. So that's a grand a month, like right off the top, just on food.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And when it comes to gear, like I definitely spent more money on food than I did gear, but that's because I had enough brain to look around and not pay $100 a bottle for test or $800 for GH. I got good quality stuff at the cheapest I could, but that still's a factor. You got to pay for that kind of stuff too. No one's going to hand it to you.
Right. Right.
So I just feel like, all your cards to go from good to great, you have to have every single card lined up. It has to be like the perfect storm. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize that like when I was younger. I mean, no, I realized it, but like I didn't think that I was ever going to be anything. Like to be fair, I just thought I was always going to be like when I won my first overall, I didn't go there thinking I was going to win an overall. I went there hoping to make top five in the open. And I took the whole show. When I won nationals, I'd gotten 13th the year before. I just wanted to make top five just to get a trophy from nationals. I didn't think I was going to win, and I did. But then at that point, I realized like the whole internet is talking about you. I was like, maybe you can do something with this. But that's when I said, okay, you got to have a job that's going to support this because I'm not doing gay for pay. That's not going to happen. And Lord, I could have been a millionaire by now if I actually took up all those weird requests that I got in my DMs. But I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be a stripper. I'm not going to be a bouncer, and I'm not going to be a drug dealer. So that's I hate to say it, that's probably the four most common ways bodybuilders make money, and none of that is good. So you got to make all your cards, all while having the mindset of really wanting it.
Yeah. That was perfectly said, man. Yeah. I don't think anyone could have said it better.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at any of the past, look at like when I say greats, there's a lot of greats that didn't become Mr. Olympia. But if you look at the Mr. Olympias, all of them had the same traits and mentality.
Hmm.
Like the ones that I've been around, like when you're around like top level Olympians, the thought process of these guys, they're all the same. It's not, some people may call it robotic, but like it's all the same. And then there's some people that have the same process, and the genetics are not there because that's a big factor.
Hmm.
Like I have, he is my best friend to this day, and he does and I coach him too. He does every single thing I could possibly ask him to do. And I hope we can get a pro card at some point. That's my goal. But for him to go on to be a good pro, we're the same age too. Like I've already lived my career and retired from my career, and he hasn't gotten his pro card yet.
Hmm.
We've actually not won an overall at a regional show yet. And I can tell you for a fact, it ain't gear. We buy from the same source. It ain't food. We shop at the same stores. And it damn sure ain't training in the gym because I've been around very few people that can out train me, and he can out train me. He can actually dig deeper than I can. And it's a genetic thing. I just put on muscle much faster than he could. And I was also able to get peeled. And like skin texture plays a role too, like with genetics. Like I had the thin skin, I was vascular, I look dense. Some people don't have that. And that's something else. Like you got to have from your genetics, you can't buy this, you can't train this, you either got this or you don't. And that's just your God given talent. But like people always think of genetics, they think small waist, broad shoulders. Yeah, that's part of it. But your myostatin, how much muscle can you put on? Can you get shredded? Can you retain that muscle and get shredded? How's your skin going to look? Are you going to have striated glutes? Like Tony Freeman was a guy who looked crazy, but no matter what he did, he didn't get striated glutes, and it was not due to lack of effort.
Right.
So again, that's genetic, but also genetic. There's hypo responders, and there's hyper responders. You want to be on the other side of that. You want to be the hyper responder. And see what else? Oh, and your body's resilience to taking drugs. Like when you're taking PEDs, how does your body handle it? I've seen over the course of my coaching journey, I've seen people with like 500 milligrams of test and 400 deca, and they can't do it. That's it. Like the side effects are so strong, they can't do it. To me, I could have taken that and not even known I was on cycle. I mean, I didn't do tremendously, like I didn't do crazy amounts. Like my test was 1200, but like at 1200, I could start seeing some side effects, but I could have went higher if I had to.
Hmm.
Some people can't. Some people like aromatize too heavily, liver enzymes crazy, creatinine goes up, lipid panels screwed up, blood pressure's up. Maybe they're just makes them cuckoo crazy. So like when I say roid rage don't exist, it never existed with me, but maybe it does with other people. I remember Derek Anthony before he passed away. Do you remember Derek?
Hmm.
Yeah, they called him the New York Badass or something like that, New York Bad Boy. He
Yep.
said every time I went to jail, I was on trend. So, I mean, I never had that issue, and I've also never been to jail. But, that's just another factor that comes with genetic and how your body responds and tolerates this. So, it requires the perfect storm to be a great bodybuilder.
Mhm.
Well said.
Well,
Some
we
of that,
appreciate.
some of that you can work for, some of it you can train yourself for, but there is certain factors on the genetic side. There's nothing you can do about that. So my recommendation to someone is control the controllable,
Mhm.
control your variables. The things that you can control, do it. Don't if you're half like I see so many people in my life that's half-ass things, and then they blame genetics. I'm like, I want to say something, but I'm like, I'm just wasting oxygen.
Hmm.
Like I'm just literally wasting my time trying to explain to them why they couldn't make it or they're not going to make it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about all I got for that.
Hey, we appreciate you coming on, brother. This
Yeah,
is,
absolutely, man.
Yeah,
I'll
Justin,
let
it's
you
been
know when we
great.
release it. And
Okay, yeah, just either tag me or collab with me on it. That way it'll just show up on my page too.